Hello, everyone. I am David Ben Eke. I am your host today, and I am joined by
Jimmy Andrex.
Jimmy Andrex is one of the people in our anthology coming out called Blooming Under Grey Bradford Skies. So as you would know, we are the Creative Writing Society at the University of Bradford, and I am the president of the society, at least, fortunately or unfortunately so. But I will just read out Jimmy's bio. So Jimmy Andrex is a poet and musician whose work is regularly featured on BBC Six Music, Resonance FM, BBC Introducing, and has also been on Radio 3's The Verb. Tom Robinson says his work is superb and life-affirming, while Ian McMillan says it's made him cry. Why? Why did it make him cry?
Because one of the pieces I do, which is initially quite a throwaway piece, is inspired by an educator called Alec Clegg, who was Director of Education for the West Riding of Yorkshire from 1945 to 1974, which overlaps with when I started school, obviously. And he believed in, amongst many things, a liberal arts-based education for all. And so I did one of my poems that I do is about him and that.
Okay.
It was actually inspired by a piece of that Ian McMillan did in the Yorkshire Post about Alec Clegg.
Okay.
That was featured at an exhibition at the Sculpture Park near where I live.
Yeah.
And so that poem called Alec Clegg Still Dreams sort of seemed to connect with a lot of people.
Okay.
Very strange when you perform it to people.
Yes.
People come up to you afterwards and start telling you stories about their experience at school, either with Clegg directly. I mean, I'd never heard of him.
Yes.
I was at school at that time, but people come and give you personal anecdotes about Alec Clegg, but also, as I've researched it more and more, about his work and ideas and life. And anyway, that was one of the ones, it was on BBC Six Music, and in the days while I was still on Twitter, I'm not now, but not because I've boycotted it, because they seem to, I can't get on it anymore to take myself off.
Now rowdy.
And anyway, so Tom Robinson and Ian McMillan heard it on the radio on Six Music, and that was when it moved him to tears, made him cry, because the ideas of that about using stories and people being creative, and also maybe painting, and then talking about the painting as a way of getting primary and junior school age children to start writing, and it's not quite as simple as reading for the sake of reading and painting for the sake of painting, but it recognised that was a good place to start to give children in sort of working class areas of Yorkshire the confidence to start writing, and then the style, the pedagogy of it was that once people had written something, then the teacher would sort of diagnose what particular points of grammar and syntax and structure, whatever, would need doing. But it started with the child, so like a child-centred approach in that sense. So anyway, that's the story of that.
How it's made.
It made Ian McMillan cry. So I can prove it. It's on Twitter somewhere. Yeah. So you put things about yourself. Yeah. To, and what do you put about yourself? So anyway, that's that.
That got me. Yeah, that got me intrigued, because but it also shows, I think, the power of art, the power of literature, specifically,
indeed,
to move people. And our book is about Bradford.
Fantastic.
So yes, I'm hoping that it, influences the ethos of people in Bradford, makes young people, because Bradford has it's the youngest city in the UK.
Yep.
So I hope it will move them to see there's so much more, that they can be under.
Well, it was always my experience when I worked in Bradford 5, that the students I was involved with,
it
was interesting when you approached the arts.
Yes.
So dancing, and mainly we kids in Bradford 5, Bradford 7, dancing and rapping were really, really important. But it wasn't something people did at school, and it wasn't something that was really encouraged at home either. What a wonderful thing it was. And there were all sorts of cultural elements to that, which are by the by.
Yeah.
But it was interesting what an empowering thing it was. To do all that, because one problem with poetry in school is the national curriculum has a very prescriptive, what does this poem mean? Here's the answer, here's what it means, which is not great, is it? But it is a powerful thing. And I always wanted it to be a liberating thing, because one of the things that I've realised as I've got older was what a liberating experience growing up at that time in West Yorkshire was. And the interesting thing about it is that people my age from round here really believe that what they had was a back to basics sort of education. And it wasn't. It was some, not wild experiment, but some really idealistic, almost social engineering experiment by using the arts as an entry point for improving general levels of literacy and everything else.
Did it work?
I'm very cautious about that. I think it did. Because obviously having been in education and where everything's measured, a lot of the stuff that it was meant to do is very hard to measure with raw data. But and I can only speak for me that I were a bit silly and wild at school. But I always felt that I was only doing what I wanted to do. And so I was very fortunate. I've been completely free, education right up through higher education. Nothing, didn't cost me a thing. They actually gave me money to go and read difficult South American novels and things. It wasn't expected that there would be some transactional thing around the knowledge that I was gifted. You've just given to me. And the passage was quite easy, even though me and my sister's 4 years older than me. When we went into higher education, we didn't know anybody who'd been in higher education. So I don't like to sort of, I'm uncomfortable with the idea of people call themselves working class writers. Clearly that great gift of the welfare state for people like me means that I have a very comfortable and privileged position. At the same time, when I actually go back to it, where I was born and grew up in a house with no toilet, So
to have that kind of leverage, with education.
Absolutely. And it was all just like, here you are. And do whatever you want. I thought. But I was a bit ignorant.
We all at some point. But now, just to bring it back to our project, so Blooming Under Grey Bradford Skies, you submitted a poem called Adultification, which I think is interesting. Why did you choose that title?
Obviously, I came across the term because the normal context of the term adultification is with regard to mainly police, but sometimes education, the authorities, as it were, treating working class and particularly black youngsters as much older than children. And there's lots and lots of cases, particularly Metropolitan Police, of going into schools for like 13 and 14-year-old girls. For instance, I read a couple of things where, and they're, like just some minor thing that I would have dealt with at work, it might be a drugs thing, it might be a rumour of a fight or something, and like strip searching people in school. And treating the child. So it's adultification normally is that. But it struck me that the word, and I'm not very good at titles, the word seemed appropriate for our societal context, where it's very hard to sort of cut yourself off from the political and social and all macroeconomic sort of really anxiety-inducing context. That means that in a general sense, I felt that, it's very hard not to be forced to, in inverted commas, grow up. And there's a certain loss of innocence in that. So it's not an exact thing. And in some senses, it might be inappropriate because I'm sort of taking a term from one context and using it in a general context. But it just seemed like a way to sort of introduce that. I mean, for me, for poetry, when I first started writing poetry, I mean, the content can be quite earnest and serious, but anybody that really knows me, I'm silly, stupid, daft. And when I first started, my first poems were all about sort of toilets and bottoms sort of thing. It made me laugh. But I don't ever feel in control of what comes out because you find yourself forced to respond to the world around you and try and either
the words that you have.
You take things from outside and try and make some sense of it. And so that's the long-winded logic for using that title.
Because I think it's appropriate, actually, and I have reasons for that. Based on what you said, with adultification being used in a different context, usually, I think it's your poetic license there. You saying this is normally used in this sense, but because there's an overarching theme of, change and aging, agedness in this particular poem. So I thought that really, fitted what you were trying to say. And, based on what you said about your silliness, I noticed, because I'm just going to give my own comment, on your poem. And I thought I really loved the puns. I loved all the alliteration. And I thought, there was good imagery in there, very good imagery. It's like you strike a chord with the way you just paint these pictures. You use them. So the way Bradford was, like we were talking about before, with all the roadworks and stuff, you use that as well to say something political and say something very serious, which I thought was interesting. And then your usage of words, I think, is like a dance. You use this keen playfulness, that's what I say here, to like ease the tension of what you're talking about and soften, because it's heavy things to talk about, but you just soften it with, your playful style, which I think is a strength.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, Roger McGough had a thing he said, that poetry should always try and be entertaining. But he said that doesn't necessarily mean funny. Which is an interesting distinction. And one of the reasons why I use music so much is that to listen to poetry, if someone's actually saying it in front of you, the human concentration span, max, can listen to 2 or 3 poems and then you're looking out the window at the clouds. And so music is one way of getting those poems out there and it being an easier thing to swallow because, there's music as well. And one of the things I put on my bio is it's poetry you can dance to. People have danced, so I'm not making that up. People do dance to it sometimes. And you're right. It's I mean, one of the things that's started becoming part of when I perform is that I have an inflatable child's dinghy with a duck, a duck puppet called Orville. You're probably too young to remember Orville the duck. It blighted the 1970s and 80s. And it was this terrible ventriloquist called Keith Harris. And he had this duck called Orville that had a little squeaky voice like... I hated it. But anyway, over time, I turned this duck thing into a character that I used in some radio programs in Leeds with, where I got it in my head that the duck puppet, and by the way, the ventriloquist Keith Harris died sort of 10 years ago or something. But I imagined that the duck didn't. and the duck was still alive, but like showbiz people embittered in a caravan somewhere, smoking and drinking heavily, telling everybody who listened how he was the real talent, the duck.
Okay, and not him.
So anyway, so I now have this dinghy and the duck. And because it's a well-remembered thing, and so I have this thing that it wants to be like a festival, so we can do a poem even without music, and we have a crowd surfing duck in a dinghy, going round, being passed round the crowd while we're doing the poem.
Do you still do that?
Yeah, people love it. I'm astonished, but I did it in Ebden Bridge at the Trades Club the other night, and at the Ebden Bridge thing, there was a power cut.
Yeah.
During the thing, and we had to do it without any amplification or music. And 150 people in the Trades Club were all chanting, Orville, like this. It was mad. But it seems so. That's, like you say, if trying to be funny or make people laugh is a serious business, as any comedian will tell you.
Yeah.
And so actually, I think that's an important part of presenting poetry to people.
Yes.
That you're making it as accessible and easy as possible for an audience to get the poetry, even if you want it to be something more, something deeper, something to make people think about.
Yes.
And it's not like being at school.
Yeah.
And somebody forcing you, listen to this, it's good for you.
Yeah.
So I'm glad, that's lovely that you've found that, because that is what I try to do. Because when it comes to accessibility in poetry, some people think that just means doing rhyming couplets.
Yeah.
When there's nothing wrong with rhyming couplets, rather done well. But actually, it doesn't have to be.
Poetry,
It doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah.
But I think, part of my sort of seeing myself as a privileged, middle-class white person who's had a really good hand in life and given is that it's my responsibility to try a bit harder.
Yes.
And not just sit. I have been at so many poetry events where privileged white men are sitting there with a thing, droning on, reading these endless poems.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, that I've had a really privileged gift, thing given to me.
Yes.
A gift in that sense, not an innate, but and so I've got to make an effort with people.
Yeah.
And it's fun as well. It's quite nice.
It is fun. I think we don't have to be all serious even when discussing politics, I think.
Absolutely.
And if we are going to be, operating as a unified society, as a nation, we have to be able to play with this thing.
Absolutely.
So I really like that.
Because the alternative...
Yes.
I remember the 1980s when sort of people like Till the Stockbroker, Stephen Wells, Jules Denby was still in the Bradford area.
Yeah.
And the poet, although Jules Denby was a bit more than that even then.
Yeah.
But the poetry was all Thatcher, milk snatcher, Thatcher, da-da-da-da-da-da. And that's fine, but limited.
Yes.
And it's same now, I'm making a conscious effort to detach myself from the sort of Trump, Musk, blah, 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 blah. Because I consciously want to avoid, as it were, dancing to the devil's tune.
Yeah.
Be constantly reacting to something that I believe is bad.
Yeah.
Because what's the Martin Luther King quote? You don't, what is it? Anyway, you don't triumph over evil by more stronger evil. You triumph over evil by...
Yes.
I should remember the quote, but I've forgotten it.
I mean, the way I think about what I think you're trying to say is, you don't fight hate with hate.
Indeed.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Only light can overcome darkness. That was the quote.
Amen.
Not more darkness. That's it.
Yeah.
I knew I'd get there.
Oh, that's good. So what do you, before I give you a chance to, just read or, perform audio, although it's an audio, a section of your poem, what would you like people to get out of your poem, especially in relation to Bradford? And then people can get out what they want, but what will you like people?
That's really hard.
Yeah.
That's really hard. I think all you want is for people to listen.
Yeah.
And pay attention, really. Because that's a real... Yeah, because doing what we do...
Yeah.
The most common reaction isn't hostility, but indifference. And indifference is, I suppose, your real enemy, isn't it?
Yeah. That's the worst case.
It's nice if people listen. Yeah. It's nice if people pay attention. And the best thing in the world, I think actually the real answer to that is is that if someone comes up and starts talking to you about it, and they seem to get it, they seem to get what you're on about. And that is in my head, because I've been working very hard on, what are the success criteria, depending on what we do. But actually, anybody at all getting what you're talking about, I think, is the best measure of success for a writer. That you've connected with somebody and they come up to you. Sometimes you connect with them and they get it completely not what you meant. There was a guy in Preston, I did one poem that again had been on the radio a lot, very popular piece and all this. And he got it in his head that this poem was some sort of anti-vaxxer rant.
Wow.
And he says, oh, yeah, you'll be anti... I'm like, no, not really. I have all the jabs and I volunteered in a vaccine centre in 2021. No, really? And but that's a function, I think, of if somebody connects with what you're doing, it sometimes comes with the territory that they project onto you their own thing. So this poem's very fast. The poem that I was doing that day is very fast. Really, really sounds quite angry because it's really fast and blah, blah, blah. And I think he just picked up on that and went completely off into space.
With what he wanted.
And what he felt. And I couldn't be rude to him because if someone comes up and says, I really enjoyed that was great, I go, oh, thank you very much. And then he starts telling me what it's about and I'm like thinking, not what I meant.
What I was trying to say.
However, you're a writer. Once our poems are out there, they belong to the person who's reading or hearing them. So,
do you think I got it when I sent you my editorial suggestions?
I did. That's what was lovely about it, and that what made me so keen to come and talk to you because, I don't ever want to dictate to people. It means this, mate, and sort of. But if somebody gets it, that's the best thing in the world, and it's a lovely, lovely thing.
Wow. Hopefully, when people read your poem, they get it.
Okay, I'll do my best. I'm doing it tonight.
That.
So adultification. Waiting for a train, steaming cafe in the rain, persisting now 6 months. He just sits and stirs stewed tea, starts chatting on at me, and from the snatches I can catch, he's growling about this roadworks outrage. He blames everything on Labour, Tracy Bravin, City of Culture. I didn't quite catch why, because I needed my train. Flash a funeral smile and flick a quick goodbye, step into venom-drenched bedlam where drilling monsters jeopardise the haze-shrouded buildings that are gravestones fading, just like that novel you always threatened to write.
I think let's just stop there. Are you the one planning to write a novel? Or is this someone else?
No. Well, I tell you what. I used to... I did try and write a novel.
No. Okay.
And it says a lot about how much of an absolute idiot I've always been. Is that I bought a new computer, PC days, the big PC stacking things. I bought a new computer and I got it in my head that I needed to erase completely, and I paid someone to professionally erase everything on the computer that I could sell it. And by accident, I'd done 60,000 words of this book.
Wow.
Taken 2 years.
Wow.
And had it professionally erased.
Oh, no.
And all that's left, there's about 2,000 words of this thing.
Wow.
I remember standing at the end of my garden, looking out onto this field and thinking...
Never doing that thing.
But then I thought, you know what? I can't have wanted to do it that badly. Okay. This is how I rationalised it. Going, oh no. So I haven't tried to... I've done a couple of short stories that got published. But in common with Ian Macmillan, I was talking to him and he got offered, in lockdown, he got offered a contract because he's well known to write a novel. And he refused and said he couldn't do it because he said, and he writes nice prose, does Ian Macmillan? And he said, I can do 1,000 words and that's it. So I'll do you a section of 1,000 words.
Well, I mean, how long does it take him to write 1,000 words?
I don't know. I don't know. He's very prolific, and I think he's an underrated poet. I think, even though he's like famous, I think the northern stereotype comes in, Bard of Barnsley and all that. But his actual poetry collections, there's a wonderful compilation of his stuff called "To Catch the Evening Star." to fold the Evening Star, that is simply wonderful. And the variety of stuff he does, I think, is amazing.
Wow.
But he's often seen as, and he is a wonderful performer. He is the funniest act I've ever seen. But people sort of think, oh, he's that bloke that writes about pies and things.
Yeah.
And so I just know he's very prolific, and he does really high quality work,
Wow.
He's a nice man as well.
Okay.
But once you've met him, he always remembers who you are. Once.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
That's good. Yeah.
I'm not like that.
I think that shows respect.
It does.
Yeah.
It certainly makes you feel wonderful.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I forget people's names all.
Yeah. And although, sometimes as well, you just forget.
When I was a teacher,
just forget,
I couldn't remember anybody's names. It was terrible. I used to always apologize. I'm really sorry. But
Wow. It's been so good thus far, Jimmy. And I just remember a line from your poem, actually. And, I'm seeing that it's ringing a feeling, that is also, I can see in that story you told about the dinghy, being passed around. So you still do this.
Yeah.
And I think there's a certain kind of longing, amongst people in the North, if, for example, that thing is making people feel good in the 21st century, I feel there is a certain kind of longing, because even in your poem, you use, so there's this line, disconsolate nostalgia condenses on cafe windows. And I was thinking, in relation to Bradford, there is a longing, I just feel, always for the past.
Yes.
There's always a longing for how Bradford was, and, how Bradford is no longer how it used to be. And so I was thinking, do you feel everyone has that longing, or is it only amongst the people who lived in that day?
Well, who was it who said it? I think it was Marina Hyde said it, but I might be wrong. The one real big driver of nostalgia is that it wasn't the past that was better, but we were, because we were younger, and we weren't quite aware of our own mortality, perhaps. And, things didn't ache. And in this poem, it's all about your knees aching and stuff. And it's that sense that when people think of the past, I think for most people, our own memory sort of tricks us, because, reality is a construct from the moment, a baby, and our brain turns the image on our retina right way up from upside down. Our brain is, designed to make sense of the world. And so everything's a bit of a construct. When you look at an optical illusion, is it two vases, or is it a candlestick, or is it two faces? All this. And so people reconstruct the past in such a way as they imagine it were all fantastic. And we all do this to a certain degree, but one thing that people tell me about me is that I've got a really good memory of things, quite random trivia and nonsense, but actually sometimes that's quite useful. And so, growing up, I was very happy as a child, but it wasn't some golden age of wonderful. I grew up on a fairly ordinary, very nice, I thought, estate. I lived there a long time after we moved out the house with no toilet. And one example, for instance, that there's a tendency, especially among poets, to sort of build the idea of living on a council estate as some sort of gritty, tough reality. Now, my sister can remember, I can't, because I was only a baby when we moved from the house with no toilet, no heating, no hot water, all this. How wonderful it was moving into a council house. Because it had two gardens, front and back. We both had a bedroom. There was a toilet and a bath. And my sister remembers it as just being, wow, this is fantastic. And so that's one example where people can look at it and go, see, growing up on a council estate as one thing. But I remember it as quite idyllic. But actually, there was nothing to do. And so I spent a lot of time staring into space. Here's how boring life on a 1970s council estate was. When the dustbin lorry came round I didn't because I just didn't see the point. But most of my friends used to follow it round. Follow the dustbin lorry round.
The kids do it.
Yeah, like, what for? It's a dustbin lorry. It's full of rubbish. But they did.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but they did. That was it. That was an event. Oh, great. Dustbin lorry's coming round. Well, I'll follow it round. There might be something interesting.
Yes.
You know, and so it wasn't some golden age. The buildings were all black with pollution and soot. Bradford, the same. These beautiful buildings in the centre of Bradford.
Yes.
It's only in the last 20 years they've been cleaned. They were, every single surface was black with soot.
Wow.
From the coal. Yeah. Everybody had a coal fire.
Yeah.
And it was just black, miserable and monochrome.
Yeah.
You took a colour picture, black and white, because everything was that colour. It was dirty, smelly. There were fog all the time from all the pollution, da-di-da-di-da-di-da-di-da. And there was nothing to do.
Yeah.
The television didn't even start till tea time. Shops shut at 5 or 6 o'clock and didn't open on a Sunday. If you wanted to, you couldn't. I remember if we used to, if you wanted a lemonade, couldn't buy a lemonade except in a pub. And on most estates, there'd be a pub and it had a little window in the side, a little doorway called the outsales. Yeah. And on a Sunday for a treat, this makes me sound so old. Well, he smoked. So go get me cigs from the shop, from the outsales, and get some lemonade. Yeah. And you'd go into the pub, little side entrance as a child to buy a lemonade. So the idea that this was some sort of golden age. But then again, in some ways, education-wise, we had a really good thing going. The project for learning foreign languages was a transformative thing for me and my sister. We both studied languages at university. So it were not a golden age. No ages, is it? It's all a challenge and difficult and complicated. But nostalgia allows us to edit out the
bad parts.
Bad bits.
Yeah. Because I was going to ask, is this what people miss? All this boredom.
Well, I mean, there's a notion that if you've got nothing to do, you'll start building little puppet theatres. No. We used to watch television all the time, whatever was on, including, I remember at dinner time, for some reason, when I was a child, they started broadcasting programmes in Welsh.
Wow.
But not just in Wales. So me and my sister would turn the TV on and watch these Welsh programmes.
They didn't understand.
That we didn't, ambulance. It was like that.
Yeah.
And we'd sit and watch it and have no idea what was going on just because we were like idiots and we had something to do.
but then do you know what I'm even noticing? And what I find interesting is just like with a guy who was projecting his own views onto your poetry, could it be that we are just people who keep projecting our perceptions of things, including with nostalgia? So nostalgia being us projecting our good feelings from the past
definitely
onto other people as
definitely. I mean, another example. As a child, I was obsessed with pop music. I made a little record player. Lovely memories of it.
What are your favourites?
Well, then, they weren't our records.
Okay.
They were Beatles records my dad had, and I still love that.
Yeah.
Having said which, now I will listen to the old record. But I don't want to just listen to old people. It's not about what's new, because at the time that was new and fresh. And that's what was good about it. But if you just still look into that all the time, now... that's not healthy, because that wasn't what made that good. Everything that we now accept as tradition, when it first appeared, was bright and shiny and a little bit scary, and not everybody liked it. And also, people's attitudes towards past music, for instance, changes. My dad used to have a thing that he hated Elton John. He's rubbish. They'll not be listening to him in 20 years' time. Well, but then... sort of 20 years after that, he went with my sister to see Elton John and was like, they're going, like this. And so, the things that become, sort of the past. I mean, Michael Gove in education, modern poetry. He was talking about T.S. Eliot, which is nearly 100 years old. Don't want that modern poetry that's 100 years old. We want it 200 years old. So you're absolutely right. We project sort of significance and meaning onto things. And I mean, to go back to the music.
And our own subjective
Yeah. I watched if you're bored and watching television, they put old TV on for those old people. There's all funeral adverts, funeral plans, and cremation, cheap cremation, and all this.
Did those scare you?
No.
Okay.
Well, no. I mean,
maybe made peace with mortality or something.
You try.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a story about that actually. I'm the person who's in a very good mood today because I had a health worry, which was resolved yesterday by the wonderful NHS. I had a camera up my bottom to establish that there's no problem, it's all good.
Okay.
And thank God, we've got
good,
yeah. So you do, but at the same time, anyway, those old people watching these old programs, and they put old editions of a program called Top of the Pops, which was the must-see program for kids, the hits of the week, from 1975. Oh yeah, the great 70s, doesn't it? It was absolutely awful, and it came out to be, most of the time that's what it was. Awful. Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Awful. Oh, I like that. But actually, that's great.
Yeah.
And one problem in modern time is that because of sort of streaming and stuff, is that everybody just chooses, I'm going to just listen to this.
Yeah.
Well, I've got one of my awkward things. I don't have Spotify, so I listen to the radio because someone else picks out and goes, I'm a person, I think this is interesting. Yeah. And you'll hear, don't like that. That's great. Yeah. And there's always new things that inspire you. And you go, oh, yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that. Well, that's really good. I can hear that. And so we do. We project a reality backwards, which is why all these Make America Great Again, which is a very worrying thing. All that sort of stuff. Imagines there's some past that was all golden and perfect. And if only we got back to that, and it's a tremendously attractive notion for older people, which the poem, that was an attempt to sort of turn it around, because my perception is that people my age who control the world to an alarming degree have collectively got it in our heads that somehow we're some sort of oppressed, persecuted group. Yeah, right. That, we need to sort of get back to something, whereas in fact, the things that we value collectively, I mean, for instance, I mentioned Elton John because he's popular, but I watched him at Glastonbury and there were like 2.5 hours of songs that everybody my age would know, they'd heard and they'd absorbed, like him or not, you know them and they're part of the culture. But, the tendency of older people to turn embittered and blame groups, this group, that group, it's all their fault, it's all this, anti-woke, blah, 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 is not only, I believe, unhealthy, but I think it's inaccurate, possibly dishonest, because people are not really thinking about the past in an accurate way, which is why you try and tell stories about that, I was there, I remember it,
It's been so good talking to you, Andrew. Jimmy Andrex.
Whatever.
Yeah. I was just going to ask you finally, what are your hopes for Bradford moving forward?
That's really interesting. I just hope that cities like Bradford, it was never golden in Bradford. Even when, the 19th century, from 1820 to 1870, when it grew from like 15,000 people to, 90,000 people? It was always hard and difficult. And it was always changing. People always felt insecure. So whether that's people moving from villages into the city because they had to, working in mills that they were dangerous and they didn't like, or whether that's people coming from the Commonwealth countries to work in the mills and finding hostility and whatever, and then transforming Bradford themselves to now where, immigration is sadly a really powerful driver of political activity. That actually the cities like Bradford, which have it really hard, because basically Bradford's too near to Leeds for its own good.
But wasn't Bradford greater than Leeds, for example?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, so how did Leeds take all that glory from?
That's a question I ask myself. Because nothing good ever came out of Leeds. If you're from Wakefield, you always talk about Leeds as the, But it's true. I mean, Leeds has had some great artists but not many for a city its size. And it's too big for its boots, in my view. But Bradford has such a rich, culture of everything that it's about acquiring a sense of civic pride and self-belief. Here's an example about Wakefield. As you know, Wakefield's got the Hepworth Gallery, which most people in Wakefield, when they were building it, rubbish, what they're spending money on that. Why can't they spend it on car parks, and all this? And the Hepworth, I love it. Anyway, we're very regular visitors to the Hepworth Gallery. It's wonderful. And it's also, I think, the world's only art gallery that serves also as a flood defence, which is interesting. Wow. And anyway, me and my wife have been on a trip to London one day, and we were walking down the King's Road in Chelsea, and we went in the Saatchi Gallery, which is full of edgy art that Charles Saatchi bought when he wasn't hitting Nigella Lawson. Anyway, and actually we didn't like it because it looked like too deliberate a thing. A very rich man trying to prove what an ace cool guy he was by buying edgy French artists and stuff. I mean, free opinion, But what we were doing, we were walking through the Saatchi Gallery in Chelsea, me and my wife, and because of the Hepworth being in Wakefield, we were able to walk around and go, it's rubbish, this. Oh, Hepworth's a lot better than this. It was brilliant because we were like total hillbillies, but with contemporary art. And we were able to go around and say, you know what? Hepworth, Henry Moore, Barbara Hepworth, much better than this. Much better. And I hope the same for Bradford, that all the brilliant things that have already been going on and will keep going on in Bradford. It's lovely that it's celebrating the heritage of David Hockney. I've been to the exhibition this morning in Saltaire. Bradford has some wonderful, really, really significant cultural figures. And some of them haven't been discovered yet. And so I just hope that gives people a leg up. I know one spoken word artist, Kirsty Taylor, who I've known for many years, and I think she's great. And she was part of the thing, and she's got some leg, and it does give the whole city a sense of belief in what's possible. Because there's a motivational phrase that I don't like, which says, if you can't see it, you can't be it. Now, I don't agree, because a lot of the best outcomes aren't obvious ones that you can see. And I think, but it is true that if young kids in Bradford see writers, artists, whatever, doing things, and people going, this is great art, this is great writing, this is great dance, this is great whatever. That it's like, okay, they too, I could do that.
I like that civic belief and pride.
I really,
and I have a personal story to even share, because I came all the way from Nigeria about 3-4 years ago.
Right.
And I'd always heard about Trafalgar Square, and it was this wonderful thing. And when I got there, I just thought, wow, it's just stones.
It is. I mean, the National Portrait Gallery is one of my favourite galleries. It's brilliant and it's free. Those two galleries are there, but everything else, Nelson and Lyons and...
Exactly. For them, because it was so well sold. So I'd always had Trafalgar Square. So I thought it was something, just out of this world, something otherworldly. But then I got there, I was very disappointed. Even the London Bridge, I grew up singing London Bridge is falling down.
And it's not even that bridge, is it?
It's not even that much of a bridge. But when you believe in yourself and when you sell yourself well, you go far. So if Bradford and Bradfordians will have a civic belief in themselves, because every single city, every single place has its flaws, including London. So thank you very much.
It's been a real pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.